Electric car adoption is happening way, way faster than experts predicted. They got it wrong. Guess what? EVs are being adopted at a rate that, pretty much all of you guys thought would happen, what I thought would happen. I think we were all on the same page here. We knew what others clearly did not. Electric cars are the future of the automotive industry, and it's only just now people are starting to realize exactly what is really going on. Hello my friends and welcome to the channel. What is really going on? An electric revolution. That is what is going on, and boy is it exciting. Gives me the tingles just thinking about it. It is an exciting time to be alive. It really, really is. There are so many advantages to EVs. One of them is the fact that we won't be sitting around, well, not sitting around, but driving around on enormous cigarettes. Think about it. That's what an internal combustion vehicle is. It's like an enormous cigarette. You're basically driving around an enormous cigarette. And it just emits more and more toxic fumes. The longer you have it for, the worse those fumes are. But the truth is, think about it this way. Pretty much, almost every vehicle manufacturer on the face of the earth has now been caught for emissions cheating. Toyota's been caught, right? They have. Who else has been caught? Jeep's been caught. Chrysler. Who else has been caught? Volkswagen. Audi. Everyone is getting caught. Mercedes has been caught as well. It just keeps on happening. The emissions that come out of tailpipes are not what you think. They're really, really not. Have a look at the pickup trucks, right? Getting around. They say they have very limited emissions. They say they have all these filters on their cars that make them have less emissions. And then you see them driving up a hill and all the black smoke comes out of the exhaust. And you think, really? That's a new car. That's a 2021, 2022 model. That thing apparently doesn't pollute very much. And look at all that smoke coming out of the exhaust. Yeah, something is going on there as well, right? The good news is this. Electric car adoption is happening at an insane rate. One of the worst countries in the world for pollution, well, maybe the worst, Shanghai, Beijing, crazy pollution, but EV adoption there has gone mental. Nearly 30% of all cars sold in the world's biggest car market in the last few months have been fully electric. That's crazy. Now, Inside EV says that nobody really predicted that EV sales would be as high as they are now. Well, I beg to differ. I think some of you guys did. I think I kind of did. I think we all got it around about here or there. But in general, the media, they are completely clueless. In fact, the media, they're not interested in learning. They're more interested in just making you think everything's going to hell in a handcart, making you think that EVs are bad for the environment because the mining, because of this, because of that, all kinds of nonsense they make up. Eventually, they're starting to learn what's really going on and the truth of EVs, which is actually they are about 20 times cleaner than an internal combustion vehicle. Remember, the average EV owner, the average, not all, but the average, has solar panels. They run the thing off the sun, right? And think about it like this. A Tesla Model 3 that's done 520,000 kilometers has had basically nothing to replace. They had one thing they replaced for $200. The battery still has 90% battery capacity after 520,000 kilometers. That thing more than likely will last 1,000,000 kilometers, right? That is a clean car. Now, Liz Najman says for Inside EVs that it's hard to believe that as recently as 5 years ago, EVs were considered a niche technology. They were, really. Stereotypes pegged owners as either high-tech Tesla fans, geeks, tree-hugging environmentalists, or just weirdos, all of whom had to accept trade-offs in terms of either cost or range to buy with their conscience. At that point, the adoption timeline was murky at best. Now, I think things are really changing, right? People are not just buying because of a conscience. A lot of people feel like they should do it to save the environment, to save the planet. I understand where they're coming from for sure. And I think that matters. But now, a lot of people are doing it because it simply makes sense. Because EVs are just better vehicles. A lot of people who in the past would buy, they loved the sound of the engine, the noise, the internal combustion. They loved that. And they're suddenly going, you know what? Yeah, that's not as good as I thought. EVs are just better. Fast forward 5 years later. It's 2022 and the EV landscape has changed. How has it changed? Well, think about it. A number of manufacturers, in fact, about half of them or more, except for those guys in Japan who are, who knows what they're doing, have said that they're committing to an all-electric future. All electric. In other words, most of the automotive industry has gone, yeah, okay, Tesla was right. Yeah, Nissan with the Leaf, they were right. GM with the Chevy Bolt, they were right. The future of the automotive industry is purely electric. It's not hydrogen, it's not plug-in hybrid, it's purely electric. Even Mercedes has come to the party. The market for new and used electric vehicles is limited by supply, not demand. And even cars that are no longer eligible for the $7,500 federal tax credit are sold out for a long time. And the price is increased, whether that's markups at dealerships by Ford and General Motors or markups online by Tesla. Demand is through the roof. Used EVs are continuing to appreciate in value depending on the EV. I mean, obviously Teslas are month over month over month over month. And there are year-long wait lists for electric trucks. I mean, you would think that the people who buy electric trucks wouldn't be interested in electric vehicles, but you'd think they'd be the last ones. But the truth is, there's nearly 2 million pre-orders for electric trucks in the United States alone. Now that a new round of EV tax credits in the US has been signed into law, what will the next 5 years look like in the United States? And really, for that matter, in many countries around the world. Boston Consulting Group, BCG, is a global consulting firm with a robust automotive practice. Almost every year since 2018, BCG released a thoroughly designed market projection for EV adoption. Now, all these projections by everyone, they're always wrong. They always understate what's really going to happen. I don't think that will change until we hit 80%. However, in the few years since the first projection was released, the numbers have continually been revised to increase the rate of adoption because it's happening faster than anyone has predicted. Well, anyone who claims to be an expert has predicted anyway. Outside of people like Tony Seba, that is. Recurrent published. Now this chart shows you US-specific market projections in BCG's global EV projections. It shows that over the course of over 4 years, from 2018 to 2022, US EV sales projections for 2030 more than doubled, growing from an estimated 21% to 53%. Now, obviously, Toyota is just putting their heads in the sand because Toyota recently said that Americans don't want EVs and they won't want them in 2030. But you know what? These consulting firms are saying, yeah, Toyota, no, you're wrong. Let that sink in. It's a staggering acceleration timeline from one of the world's top analysts. Perhaps even more exciting, the latest report was released in June, ahead of the Inflation Reduction Act and recent state commitments to emission-free vehicles. Personally, I know a lot of you disagree, but I firmly believe that this new Inflation Reduction Act, I don't like the name of it, I think that's bogus, but I firmly believe the act itself will increase the uptake of EV purchases in the United States. Why? Because it's increasing growth in manufacturing. It is unquestionably. Look at all the new projects that have been announced. Look at what all the manufacturers are saying they're going to do. Look at what mining companies are doing. Everything has changed very, very quickly now. And people are saying that manufacturers now are committing to manufacture EVs in the United States as a result of this new act. With the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act, not only can we anticipate a rise in new EV purchases as sales caps are lifted for Tesla and General Motors, but there will be growing interest in the used EV market as well. Although only 17% of used EVs are listed at prices that make them eligible for the tax credit, taking $4,000 off a $20,000 car is a 25% discount. And that'll suddenly make EV ownership even more achievable for the average person, right? If you can buy a second-hand EV for $16,000, which is what will eventually happen for many, many different EVs on the market, That makes it achievable for the average person. The new regulation may also put downward pressure on used EV prices that hover around the $25,000 mark, and new EVs around $55,000. That's the average transaction price for an EV in the US, $55,000. There is an auto industry concern that in the short term, the Inflation Reduction Act might harm EV sales by slashing eligibility. That's true. As of its signing on the 16th of August, 70% of formerly eligible EV models became ineligible because they are not assembled in the US. You know what I say? Suffer. Suffer to you guys. If you don't assemble your cars in the United States, why would you qualify? You shouldn't qualify. That's ridiculous. Anyone complaining, and there are people complaining about this, GM is one of them, that they should qualify when their vehicles are assembled in Mexico or some other country, that's ridiculous. In my opinion, if the US government is putting the money in other words, if US taxpayers are paying for it, the vehicles should absolutely be assembled in the United States. Legacy automakers are worried, Toyota of course, about more models losing eligibility with these still in progress critical minerals and battery sourcing requirements that go into effect on the 1st of January 2023. Of course, the ultimate goal of all these requirements is to onshore the production and manufacturing of EVs and their parts, bring those jobs to the US. Automakers who have already pivoted to the North American operations, such as Volkswagen, Tesla, Ford, and GM, while Ford and GM less so than Tesla, of course, will be rewarded. And it will take a lot of momentum to slow down interest in EVs. It's not happening. Interest is only going to increase. Tesla has been ineligible for the federal tax credit since 2019, but the Model Y is rapidly becoming the world's best-selling car. In spite of the fact, right, that Tesla hasn't qualified for the $7,500, it's still the best-selling EV in the United States by a huge margin. That's incredible, considering the massive disadvantage they have. $7,500 disadvantage, that's enormous. Another very recent change that will drastically alter the near-term adoption rate of EVs is California's plan to ban the sale of gas vehicles by 2035. California is the largest auto market in the US, therefore it's the most important market. They have the most cars of any state. In fact, about 10% of all motor vehicles in the US right now are sitting in California. So this would be a huge driver of nationwide electric vehicle adoption. Plus, as goes California, so goes the 14 other states that follow the emissions guidance of the California Air Resources Board, CARB. The potential from this is for 1/3 of the nation's vehicles to be emissions-free by 2035. Basically, because 14 states follow California's lead, that means they've got 15 states that will have banned the sales of any vehicles bar electric ones by 2035. That's how this will actually play out. So I have to say, I am very excited for what's going on in the US. Yeah, a lot of people are criticizing the US. They're saying, you know what, you guys are not adopting EVs fast enough. I don't think that's the average person in America's fault. I think the truth is the manufacturers themselves didn't support EVs. The government didn't support EVs the way that Europe and China has. Well, now the government's come to the party, things are going to change, and very quickly. Frankly, I believe that about 90 to 100% of all vehicles sold in 2030, only 8 years from now, will be electric. Why? Because they're better. It's that simple. Remember, how long did it take for us to go from those crappy Ericsson and Nokia 3310 ancient, I mean, they were digital, but they were kind of analog mobile phones to smartphones? It happened very quickly. How long did it take us to go from film to digital cameras? It happened very quickly. Disruptions happen fast. That is the nature of history. That is the nature of human civilization. That is what is happening with electric cars. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.